Hi guys, this is Crivelli again with another fountain pen review, and today we are going to talk about, or I will review, the Pelikan M400 Brown Tortoise. And I will already say that this pen here is a special edition. It's only available for a limited amount of time, so once that stock here is sold, it's gone. They've released the M800 in Brown Tortoise a couple of years ago, I think 3 years ago or something like that, or 4 years ago. 2 years ago, 2013 I think it was, and that the M800 in Brown Tortoise was gone pretty fast. It sold pretty fast, and in the meanwhile it's almost impossible to get one. If you want to get an M800 in that finish, in the meanwhile it's probably gonna cost you an arm and a leg. So if you like that pen and if you want that pen, I'd recommend you to get one as soon as possible, because as said, once they're gone, and chances are good that they will also increase in value over time on the second-hand market. So as said, that's the M400 Brown Tortoise Pelikan Souverain. It's one of my most favorite fountain pens that I own at the moment, and we'll dig into the pen in a little bit, but let me show you the packaging first. It comes in this cardboard packaging here with the Pelikan logo on top, standard gift box. You can remove that. It's a fairly nice packaging, as you would expect of a fountain pen that is in the €300 price range. That is silver, that is brownish, a fake wood cardboard thing. You open that up and out comes the typical Pelikan wrapper made out of a white fake leather with that Pelikan logo wax seal kind of closure thing on. Also the M600 and the M400 and the M800, those pens also come in exactly that kind of packaging, and inside you find the tag. I got the one with a fine nib. It's a 14K fine nib, M400 Tortoise Brown, and €320 is the recommended pricing of that pen. And then once you open that thing here up, you'll find two little things in here, which is one's a Pelikan brochure, Moments of Joy, with the inks that Pelikan has, and you know, all the fountain pens that they have and all that kind of stuff. And then of course you also get your warranty certificate, and the nice thing to know is like that you have 3 years warranty on all parts, of course apart from wear and tear. And if you're not happy with the nib width you got, like if the pen writes too wide or too small for you, too fine for you, within 4 weeks you get a free nib exchange, which is a very neat thing, and something that of course also adds to the value of a pen that already is not really on the cheaper end of the fountain pens. So let me remove all that stuff here and then jump into the pen straight away. So here it is, the beauty of the M400 Brown Tortoise. That pen has the regular shape of the Pelikan Souverain fountain pens. That means it's a little bit thicker in the mid, at the center of the barrel, and sort of tapers down towards both ends of the side. Then of course the highlight of the pen is this beautiful cellulose acetate tortoise pattern, or Schildpatt as it is called in German. It is really beautiful, and depending on how the light catches that cellulose acetate, you see brown of course, and then also hints of orange. I find that looks truly spectacular. I just love it. Just look at that and let me be quiet for a little while and enjoy how that looks. That is probably, of course, the most spectacular part. That's the most beautiful tortoise shell that they have. I find it's more beautiful than the white tortoise. And it's of course also more beautiful in my eyes than the Stresemann, which still is also a very beautiful pen. Okay, so that's that cellulose acetate, or whatever that is correctly pronounced. Then you have all those parts here. They are made out of brown resin. It is actually a very dark brown. It might even look slightly blackish, but as soon as I bring in a truly black pen, such as this Lamy All-Star here, you see that it's not black but brown, that the M400 Brown Tortoise is made of brown resin. Then we have the finial of the pen. The finial of the pen is this typical frosted cap. You see that it has a pelican on it with one chick. It has a small step down here. It's this very, very typical. Let me bring in another pen that I still have to review. That has the M205 Aquamarine. It essentially looks, the M400 and the M205 or the M200 are essentially shape and size wise more or less the same pens, same finial, apart from the M400 being frosted, and that has a, you know, like just black or whatever color that comes in, depends a little bit on the finish of the pen of the M200, 205. Then the M400 has, the Sovereign has another gold band around the center band here, and the M205 only has one band here at the piston turning knob, and the M400 has two gold bands here. I'll bring that other pen in again in a bit. So the clip is of course this stylized pelican mouth. It's a very springy, very, very useful clip. Very great because also like it flares out here a little bit, so it's very easy to put that into a shirt pocket. Then here at the center band it says Pelikan Sovereign Germany. And then at the end here, also in brown and with gold, you have the piston turning knob. That is actually all 24 karat gold plated here. Then you have the cap. The super neat thing about the Pelikan caps, I really love that, and I've said that in a couple of other fountain pen reviews as well. What I really like is like a screw cap because it sits tightly, and a screw-on cap that just unscrews with one or less turns, because I don't really like it if I have to twist and turn the cap until forever, because it just takes an eternity for you to be ready to write. And with that, it's just exactly one twist and you're good to go, right? So that is really, really, really a nice thing. Inside you have a cap, a plastic cap that prevents the nib from drying out. That works really good. I never had an issue with picking up any Pelikan that would not write, and because the nib or the ink would have dried in, I never had an issue with that, so that works really well. Then you have the section. The section is made out of the same brown resin and also has like a gold band around here. That is something that the M200 or M205 also doesn't have. That is just like the plastic here. It doesn't have that 24 karat gold plated metal band here. And then you have this very beautiful 14 karat gold nib. I got a fine nib. It's a bicolor nib with some Pelikan scroll work on here. It looks very similar to the nib of the M800 or the M600. It says 14 karat 585 for the gold content. Fine, has the Pelikan logo on it, some scroll work, and then as said, it's a bicolor nib that is rhodium plated. That is why you see silver on that gold here. I can also compare that for you size wise to the nib of the M200, so you've seen that. The nibs are almost the same size. The nib of the M400 is slightly wider. I would say the shoulders, the nib shoulders are a bit wider. And you also already see one difference, I'll show you that in a writing sample, is that the gold nibs of Pelikan and the steel nibs of Pelikan, they have sort of different nib measurements. You already see that, or you can like guess that from looking at the tip of the nib here. To the left you have a fine M400, and to the right you have a medium steel of the M200, and they're essentially M205, and they're essentially the same width. So that is something to be aware of when you buy a Pelikan with a steel nib, or you have one with a steel nib, you want to upgrade to a gold nib. If you've been comfortable with a medium steel and you want the same width, it's probably good for you to get a fine gold, because then you have essentially the same nib width. That's that. All right. So what I can still say, or what also needs to be mentioned, is that the Pelikan M400 is a fairly small pen. it is especially a fairly small pen when it's capped. When it's uncapped, it's not that small. It is very nice and comfortable for me to hold. The length is no problem at all. That is very comfortable. And if it's too short for you, you might still post it. The pen posts very securely. There's no problem with posting the pen. The only thing that might become an issue, and many people or some people have an issue with the M400 or M200, is that the section is a little bit thin. It's not a very girthy, wide section. So for me, I would say it's a comfortable pen, but it's definitely on the lower end of being comfortable for me. What you could do, and others have pointed that out in reviews as well, is of course you could hold the pen a little bit up here. The threads here are not very sharp, so it's no problem to hold the pen here. That won't pain you. And the pen, for me, and I have slightly larger hand, is still long enough to be held comfortably. Or alternatively here, where the section flares out a little bit, you could hold the pen a little bit downstairs, closer to the nib, and you should also be fine. But it's something to be probably aware of, or that you should be aware of. So let's do a couple of size comparisons, because I said the interesting thing about the pen, I mean, it's the advantage and the disadvantage of the pen is the size. I find it's really nice size because like it's a super pocketable pen. It's really nice to put in your shirt pocket, and I really like to carry that pen around. But it's of course also a little bit its drawback, because it might be too small for some people. So let's have a look at the pen compared to some other pens. Maybe the Lamy All-Star and maybe the Lamy 2000. All pens that I still have to review. There's a lot of work for me. So the interesting thing that you see, and that's why I said it's a very pocketable pen, now capped, that pen looks actually, the M400 looks actually very, very tiny. But uncapped, you will see that the cap sits fairly deep on the barrel. That is why uncapped, all of a sudden, the pen is not that tiny anymore at all. If you compare that, it's almost as long as the Lamy 2000. It's just a little bit shorter, not much. And then when we post those pens, I'm not going to post the All-Star, because there's no point. It's a long pen anyway. But you see that once posted, also the pen is longer than the unposted Lamy All-Star, and almost as long as the Lamy 2000. So that said, the interesting thing about that pen is its size, because unposted very small, or kept very small, but then when it's posted or unposted, almost the same length as a Lamy 2000. So to the size of the pen, yeah, the only problem that you might have is the width of the section. So towards the end of the review, we might jump into a short writing sample where I can show you the performance of this very smooth, soft feeling, buttery nib that has a little bit of a spring to it. The pen is inked with, I think, diamine blue black. So no, that normally doesn't happen. I think it's because I had the pen uncapped for a while. Pelikan M400 Brown Tortoise. Fine nib. It's a very nice, it's a, as most Pelikans, it's definitely a nib that is on the wetter side. Yeah, you see that? It's a pretty wet nib. You can definitely get some line variation out of that pen. That is no pressure, a bit more pressure, and that's quite a lot pressure here. You can get line variation out of that pen, and most people that I see writing on Instagram or something like that, they actually use that, not a semi-flex, but they use that to get some line variation out of it. I normally don't write like that, but it's maybe something that you might be interested in. And so it's really a nice smooth writing experience. It's definitely smoother, and it grabs less onto the paper than the steel nibs that I'm going to compare it to in a minute. So it's when when speaking about smoothness, I would say it's sort of a glassy smooth writing experience. Really a glassy, like it's almost like writing on a glass surface. So it's not that grip grabbing on the paper smoothness. So at the end, let's do a small nib width comparison, as I said. So this here is the fine gold. And now I'm going to bring in the medium steel that is inked with the aquamarine ink. And you see that? That is almost, it might be still a bit wider, but it is almost the same width. So be aware of that when you choose a nib size. And something else that I also wanted to point out that is also super nice with that M400 here is actually reverse writing. Flip side writing is something that I really like a lot. Sometimes you have a smaller space where you need to write something in a form or something like that. Then you might want a finer nib. So that nib here is already quite fine. But if you flip the pen around, you actually half the nib size. Yeah, you have half the nib size. That is really, really nice, because now you go from a fine to an extra fine, and that is still a very pleasant, wet, smooth writing experience. Actually, the backside of that pen writes better than many pens with a regular side. So having that said, it's a really nice pen. If you want to get one of those for yourself, hurry up, because they're not going to be available for very long. I hope that review was useful, and I'll see you at the next review. Bye bye.